The judge was shuffling through files when he stopped. He looked at the courtroom attendance list. Then he raised his head, searching toward the back. "This can't be possible," he muttered. But that woman was really there. The woman they thought was dead. From which city around the world are you watching this video? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe powerful stories like this deserve to be told, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The Military Court of Justice, in the heart of Washington, D.C., represented the power of justice with its historic stone walls. The main hall impressed visitors with its high Gothic ceilings and eagle emblems carved into every corner, while the cold marble floors echoed with every step. The clock showed 9 in the morning, and the hall was slowly filling up. The first rays of sunlight filtering through the exterior passed through stained glass windows, adding a mystical atmosphere to the hall. Wooden pews were arranged in orderly rows, each bearing small brass plaques that reminded everyone of military discipline. The air carried the scent of old books, polished wood, and a hint of tension. Major Marcus Henley's case would conclude today. War crimes, civilian massacre, and insubordination. The major case discussed in media for days, whispered about in military circles. High-ranking commanders from the Pentagon, Congress members, human rights organization representatives, and, of course, press members filled every corner of the hall. Judge Colonel Richardson was a strict and just figure with 30 years of experience. Since the Vietnam War, he had presided over dozens of critical cases, never bowing to political pressure. The sharp gaze behind his glasses would scan the courtroom, noting every detail. Today, as always, he was reviewing files one last time, but there was an uneasiness within him. On Richardson's desk sat thick folders of documents arranged in stacks. Operation Red Dawn files, classified reports, witness statements. Each page had the power to change a person's fate. But Richardson, with his years of experience, sensed that something was missing in this case. The courtroom was filled with military personnel, journalists, civilians interested in the case, and, of course, the defendant's family. In the front rows, Henley's elderly mother and young wife watched their son, husband, with anxious eyes. In the back, military personnel of various ranks pondered how the outcome of this case would affect their confidence in military justice. In the back row, right by the window on the left side, sat a woman in silence. About 40 years old, in a black suit, her hair tied back in a tight bun. No makeup, but with a strikingly beautiful face. She held a small leather-bound notebook, her eyes constantly studying the files and court proceedings. There was something noteworthy about the woman's posture. Her back was straight, shoulders squared, hands positioned perfectly on her knees. It was body language that reflected military discipline. But her civilian clothes and quiet demeanor made her appear like an ordinary observer. Nobody paid attention to her. Neither the CNN journalist, nor the high-ranking officers from the Pentagon, nor the law students following the case. Just an ordinary observer, perhaps a researcher with academic interest in such cases. No one questioned who she was. But if there had been careful observers, they might have noticed that cold calculation ability specific to military operations in the woman's eyes, that the fine lines on her hands came from rigorous training, that unshakable determination in her posture. "Court is in session. Please rise," shouted the clerk. The hall immediately stood up, over 200 people moving simultaneously, creating an impressive sight. Judge Richardson took his seat, struck his wooden gavel 3 times. The sound echoed off the hall's walls. The Major Marcus Henley case continues. Today the defense will present their final evidence, and afterwards we will proceed to the decision phase. This case represents not just the trial of one person, but a test of our military justice system. Therefore, I request maximum attention and respect from all parties. Henley sat in the defendant's chair, in uniform but with rank insignia removed, attending the court hearing. 15 years of military service, 2 tours in Iraq, 1 tour in Afghanistan. There was disappointment and exhaustion in his eyes. His family believed in him, but the entire system seemed to work against him. The defense attorney, Colonel Peters, stood up. In his early 40s, he was an experienced, effective speaker. Peters, himself a Vietnam veteran, had made fighting military injustice his life's mission. Your Honor, we have critical evidence that will prove my client Major Henley's innocence. The orders given in this operation and the developments in the field will completely refute the charges in the indictment. Colonel Peters opened the thick file on his desk. The documents he extracted were evidence he had been secretly gathering for the past 6 months. Information that couldn't be obtained through official channels, extracted from the depths of military bureaucracy. Your Honor, the real command structure of Operation Red Dawn has been hidden from this court until today. There are critical deficiencies in the documents presented by the prosecution. As Peters's voice echoed in the hall, the woman in the back row lifted her pen for the first time and wrote something in her notebook. What she wrote was, "Finally, the truth will come out." The orders Major Henley received were completely different from those in official records. And the identity of the superior officer who gave these orders... Peters stopped. He looked at a paper in the file, then scanned the hall. His eyes caught the woman in the back row and froze. Prosecutor Mason, a young and ambitious officer, jumped up. I object, Your Honor. The defense is trying to create conspiracy theories unrelated to the case. Major Henley's orders were clear and explicit. Objection overruled, said Richardson. Colonel Peters, please continue. Peters pulled out a photograph from the file with trembling hands. Black and white military ID photo. Your Honor, the real commander of this operation is sitting in this hall right now. A deep silence fell over the hall. In this silence that lasted several seconds, only the hum of the ventilation system could be heard. Then whispers began. Everyone was looking around, wondering who the commander could be. How is this possible? Asked a journalist, extending his microphone. Richardson struck his gavel. Silence! Peters pointed to the back row with his trembling hand. Major Elena Vasquez, the real commander of Operation Red Dawn. According to official records, she was killed in action 5 years ago. But... He stopped, took a breath. This woman is alive and among us. The woman in the back row had closed her notebook. For the first time, she raised her head and looked directly at the courtroom. There was a sudden change in her eyes. She no longer had the look of a shy civilian, but the gaze of a commander. Judge Richardson took off his glasses, cleaned them, put them back on. He checked the hall attendance list in the file on his desk. There's no Elena Vasquez name on the hall list, he said, his voice slightly trembling. Because she's registered under the name Amelia Santos, Peters explained, living under civilian identity in a protection program. All eyes turned to the woman in the back row. The hall was frozen. Over 200 pairs of eyes were examining that woman with astonishment and curiosity. The woman paused for a few seconds, as if making a decision within herself. Then she slowly stood up. The moment she stood up, her posture completely changed. She no longer had the stance of a civilian observer, but the posture of a commander forged by years of experience. Her shoulders pulled back, her back straightened, her head lifted slightly up. This change was so striking that several military personnel in the hall reflexively stood straighter. "Your Honor," said the woman, her voice no longer shy but authoritative and clear, "I am Major Elena Vasquez." The courtroom literally transformed into an icy waterfall. Because Elena Vasquez wasn't just dead. She was a legendary name in military history. Besides Operation Red Dawn, she had signed dozens of classified missions, known as the Ghost Commander, having served in the Pentagon's most secret operations. Retired Colonel Morrison, sitting in the front rows, jumped up. This cannot be Elena Vasquez. I was at her funeral. I carried her coffin." Chaos began in the hall. Military personnel looked at each other in astonishment. Journalists frantically took notes. Security guards didn't know what to do. Prosecutor Mason, knocking over the files on his desk, jumped up. "I object. This is contempt of court. Whoever this woman is, Major Vasquez was killed in action 5 years ago. All military records confirm this. A funeral ceremony was held. She has a grave." Elena began speaking calmly. Her voice could now be heard comfortably throughout the hall. "No, Prosecutor Mason, the funeral was staged. The coffin was empty. That funeral ceremony was the only way to protect me, because the truth I discovered in Operation Red Dawn was too dangerous for some people." Richardson struck his gavel repeatedly. "Silence! Major Vasquez, if you really are who you claim, can you prove this assertion?" Elena pulled out a small metal object from her jacket pocket. "This is the special encrypted communication device we used in Operation Red Dawn. Pentagon records show only 3 were produced. One was with me, another with our killed team leader, and the third—" She looked at Mason. "Should be in your file, Prosecutor Mason." Mason's face turned completely pale. This is impossible." "It's not impossible. And I'll also explain why I'm coming forward now. An innocent man is being tried for my decisions. The orders I gave to Major Henley were signed by someone else in my name. Those orders were given to sabotage the operation." Elena placed the thick file she took from her bag on the table. "These are the real orders that led to the civilian massacre in Operation Red Dawn. And the person who gave these orders—" She stopped, let her eyes wander around the hall, then looked directly at Prosecutor Mason. "This is delusion!" Mason shouted, sweat pouring down. "I don't know who this woman is, but she's not Elena Vasquez." Elena opened the file. The documents she pulled out bore Mason's signature. "Your signature is on these documents, Prosecutor Mason. The orders you gave to sabotage the operation. The trap you planned to frame Henley for the civilian massacre." The hall was in complete chaos. Journalists were taking notes while standing. Military personnel looked at each other in shock. Security guards prepared to intervene. Richardson, trying to regain his authority, struck his gavel forcefully. "Everyone, sit down. This court will maintain order." Elena turned to Henley. She was seeing her client for the first time. "Major Henley, the voice you heard on the radio that day was mine. I didn't give the order Operation Cancelled, withdraw. That order was fake." Henley, his eyes filled with tears, stood up. "My commander, we thought we had lost you. I also thought I had lost everyone, including you, until I heard about this case and understood what really happened." Richardson turned to Elena. "Major Vasquez, where were you for 5 years?" "I was hiding, Your Honor, and investigating the real criminals. This conspiracy isn't limited to Operation Red Dawn. In the last 10 years, dozens of operations have been sabotaged in the same way. Military personnel have been accused, while the real criminals have been promoted." Elena scanned the hall one last time. She looked at the military families sitting in the back rows, at Henley's mother, at his young wife. Major Henley is innocent. He was just a soldier following orders. The real criminals are those who set him up, sabotaged the operation, and then made it look like I was killed to hide the truth. Richardson struck his gavel for the last time. This court is adjourned in light of new evidence. Prosecutor Mason will be detained for questioning. Major Henley is acquitted of all charges. The hall applauded while standing. Henley's family was crying, this time with tears of joy. Military personnel stood at attention for Elena. Elena gathered her bag. She approached Henley, extended her hand to him. "Major, I apologize. What you went through was the result of my mistakes." "No, Commander. You are a hero. You returned after 5 years and delivered justice." As she left the courtroom, a young journalist approached Elena. "Major Vasquez, would you give an exclusive interview? The whole world wants to hear your story." Elena stopped, smiled slightly. "Some heroes work in the light. Others work in the darkness. I'm the second type. Now it's time to return to the darkness." Richardson called out to stop Elena. "Major Vasquez, there's a new assignment offer for you." Elena answered without turning around. "My mission is complete, Your Honor. Justice has been served." And at that moment, the woman who had died 5 years ago disappeared back into the shadows. But this time, having delivered justice, saved the innocent, and shown everyone what true heroism means. As she exited through the hall doors, she turned back one last time and saluted Henley. Because true heroes don't fight to hear applause, but to do what's right.